Hey, what's up ladies and gents, SpoonyPizzas here, bringing you a Player of the Week review for the worldwide November 9th, 2023 Player of the Week pack. So we're going to delve into here, see if there's any players worth picking up. I'm going to give you my recommendations at the end of this video. So Araujo first up for Barcelona. Now, starting off, he's an extra frontman. That is not really a style I like as a defender. I much prefer the build-up out of all the types of defenders you can get, or defensive playstyles you can get, basically because they stay in a nice straight line. If you have all your defenders as build up, or the two centre backs or three centre backs, depending on what system you're playing. But for me, his defensive awareness is clearly not good enough, especially for a lot of players now. I've got strikers with 90 or over 90 for attacking awareness, and that is going to make the defensive awareness of 88 pretty bad. I'm going to be straight up with you. But he has got the speed and acceleration to get back and sort of, make those tackles. And he is pretty good in the air. 87 for jumping. He is quite strong as well, 86, and he's got 70 for low pass, so he can play the ball out, but he has got interception, blocker, aerial superiority, acrobatic clearance, sliding tackle, man marking, like literally all the things you want for a defender, including his fighting spirit. But for me, he is not a recommended defender simply because his defensive awareness is too low. Next is Harry Kane, a goal poacher for obviously Bayern Munich now, almost as Tottenham Hotspur. As a goal poacher, you do need speed. You do need that acceleration to get beyond the defence. And then you need that dribbling speed to maintain that and get in behind. Now, he isn't a bad player, but for me, I can't recommend him unless he was a fox in the box. If you had a fox in the box here with an attacking awareness of 93, the difference between 91, 92, 93 is actually quite significant. I find from 93 and above is when you really get the real big benefits. I find like 92 and below, you just like say from 90 to 92 is really good, but you just don't get that additional benefit. So 93 and above would be much better. But for me, again, I can't really recommend him. We can look at his player skills. We know what he's going to offer. He's going to offer that first time shot, acrobatic finishing, heading, dipping shot, one touch passing, through passing, so aerial superiority, heading, great in the box. But for the fact he's not a fox in the box is a reason I would skip this card. Next up is Bruno Fernandes. I mean, how many Bruno Fernandes have we had over the past few months? We have had quite a lot. Nothing really standing out about this player for me. Creative playmaker, same as he's always been. And to be honest, he's not, he's got good stats, but he's not the best in my opinion. I have used him quite a few times. I can't really get tune out of him. I'd much rather have like someone like the likes of Pedri, someone more mobile, and box-to-box midfielders are far better in my opinion than these creative playmakers, especially if you're playing online. One-touch passing, through passing, weighted passing, pinpoint crossing, all good to have. He has got interception as well, so he can do a little bit of defensive work, but don't expect that to be really shining too much, especially when his defensive awareness is only 55. So yeah, for me, not really a player, again, I can recommend. Next up, Nicholas Jackson. For me, a goal poacher. His attacking awareness is far too low, 84. That is simply not good enough. He has got some decent pace, he has got some decent finishing, and his physical contact and balance stats are pretty good, but again, lacking those player skills. Well, he has got first time shot, but he hasn't got anything like the ability to bring other players into play with like one touch passing or through passing or anything like that. So again, you're going to be very isolated with him, and for me, that attacking awareness is really bad, and I would definitely not recommend getting him either. Next up is Doku, who's having a tremendous season for Man City since he's really come on form the last few weeks. And he's got great speed, acceleration, dribbling, so he's going to be able to carry the ball really quickly, get in behind the defense really quickly. But after that, not much end product. 71 for finishing, 73 for lofted pass, so can't really cross, can't really shoot. You will score goals with this guy. He's got plenty of skills. He might be fun to use, but for me, there's better wingers out there that you could pick up, especially if you've got some spare GP available. The likes I would personally recommend is Chiesa for 1, outstanding, and Leroy Sané. I got 2 amazing builds with those players, and if you guys want to see those, then let me know down in the comments. Next up is Kang-in. So he plays for PSG. He's a whole player, just 22 years old, and he's got some really good stats here, but again, nothing exceptional really. I've got the likes of Pedri, Gavi. I'm sure a lot of you've got higher stats as well, and the difference between the 80s and 90s when it comes to tight possession ball control is actually quite significant. You might think it's not that big a difference, but it really is. So for me personally, I would not recommend him, because whilst he is probably the best player I've seen in the pack so far, you know, if you are starting out and you are building a team, then he could definitely do a job for you. And with the whole player, he's going to be much more advanced than the creative playmaker. So getting in and around the box, he's going to be really good at. One-touch passing, through passing, and low lofted passing are nice to have, especially with his decent passing ability, which is 89 and 85 respectively for the low and lofted passes. But yeah, for me, a decent player, probably the best in the pack we've seen so far. Next up is Ito, who is a goal poacher. Again, that attacking awareness far too low. He is quick at getting away from the defense, but his dribbling is only 83, so expect him to eventually be caught by defenders. He's got some decent finishing, but for me, you know, with that low attacking awareness, he's not going to be making the runs you really need. I would recommend the likes of Mbappe or Osimhen. As if you see my build for Osimhen, check that out, because then you'll see the difference between, especially with that attacking awareness, you're going to see the difference between like 90 to 93 and what an impact that had with the Osimhen build. Next up is Zakaria, and he's a box-to-box midfielder, one of my favorite, probably the favorite role, as especially if you're playing online, you need them to get up and back, especially if you're playing something like long ball counter, the sort of meta style. He's got good tight possession, good ball control, some decent defensive qualities. I would like to see his defensive engagement higher than his aggression, but you know, that aggression is going to boost his overall rating to 93. So I much prefer the defensive engagement and defensive awareness to be a little bit higher. Let's just take a look at his player skills. So one-touch passing, weighted passing, interception, blocker, man marking is not too bad to have in midfield, like as an option to perhaps deal with other players in your opponent's midfield to sort of nullify them if you've got a goal, or if you're a goal or 2 goal up in a very tight game, can use that man marking to shut them down and shut them out. But yeah, pretty quick across the ground as well. Probably the best player we've seen in the pack. Next up is Dovbyk, and to be honest, again, I can't really recommend him. He has got some decent attacking awareness. It's not above the 90s, which is a bit disappointing. He's got some decent finishing, good kicking power, good physical contact, but his balance is far too low. His speed isn't all that great, and he's a goal poacher, so he's going to be playing on the last line of defense. And if he does get the ball, he's going to be really slow to pull away with that dribbling of 65. So don't expect him to run away from anyone. Looking at his player skills, first time shot is obviously key here. He has got one-touch passing, through passing, and aerial superiority, and heading. So he can do the lot in terms of when it comes to finishing. But for me, not really a player I would recommend. Silvestri is up next. As a goalkeeper, I mean, everyone's probably got better goalkeepers now, but he's not too bad if you haven't got a goalkeeper. His goalkeeping awareness is good, his reflexes and reach are good, and then, you know, those are the key stats when it comes to a goalkeeper. So the last ones are sort of parrying and catching. As long as one of those is sort of above 85, he's a decent goalkeeper. He has got a high punt, which is not my favourite. I much prefer a low punt, so you can actually play the ball out from his penalty box to one of your players. I find with the high punt, it can just be, it's down to a sort of a super cancel battle against your opponent half the time. So yeah, pretty decent goalkeeper to be fair. And next up, Wellington. He is a destroyer, not really a role that I really like as a defender. I find destroyers, especially with high aggression, will come out of defense, make your defense disjointed, and make it easy to play through when you're playing really high players or high rated players. So definitely not really a defender I can recommend. He's pretty slow as well, 61 for speed, so not really a defender I can really recommend. He has got interception. He hasn't got blocker, which is a bit of a miss there. He has got acrobatic clearance and slide and tackle, aerial superiority and heading, which is nice to have. But he's only 181 centimeters tall as well, so that's something to take into consideration. So again, not another player I can't really recommend. So I'm really going to be struggling to recommend players here. Probably Zakaria, the goalkeeper Silvestri, and Kang-in is probably the 3 players that I can recommend from this pack. Other than that, it's pretty much a skippable pack for me. Not the best, and I would probably save your coins for another player of the week pack. Anyway, that's all from me, ladies and gents. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.